And so it creates this false expectation of the miraculous, that then when people look at their own churches and lives and say, well, I don't see these miracles happening, they must be happening at Bethel, because they're singing about it.
So, quick question, couple quick questions. So, based on everything you've done, 3 books on this subject, do you think that evangelical churches should be singing music that comes from this movement?
We would say that as a matter of wisdom, so it's a matter of practical wisdom that they should not be. And the reason is, I think I've already mentioned that a number of people have told us what drew them into this movement first
Mm-hmm.
was the music. We describe it the music is like a gateway,
Mm-hmm.
into the NAR. But the music incorporates the theology into the lyrics, and people don't see that unless they know what the movement teaches and they recognize the buzzwords and the lingo, which we point out in our book with specific examples. And so once you know the theology, you can spot it. But a lot of Christians are singing Bethel music songs every week, not realizing that there's Bethel theology that's coming from their lips, and they don't realize it because they don't know how words have been redefined in this movement, words like declaration. Um, and the leaders themselves, like Bill Johnson, have been very explicit that they see Bethel music as a tool for planning Bethel teachings and practices in churches throughout the world. And Bill Johnson has also said, we quote this in our book, but he said, music bypasses all of the intellectual barriers. And when the anointing of God is on a song, people will begin to believe things they wouldn't believe through teaching. So Bill Johnson himself sees this music as a powerful tool for getting people to believe things that they would not believe if it wasn't presented through their music. And so because the theology is incorporated into the lyrics, because they see it as a tool for spreading their teachings and practices, and they're quite explicit about that, we think the churches would be wise to avoid using the music. And also the fact of the royalties the churches are paying to use the music, which is fueling and funding the spread of this movement around the globe.
Well, and note that the songs oftentimes speak of an experience of God that is informed by this theology. And people who are singing these lyrics must at times pause and wonder, am I seeing this experience? Is this happening in my church? Are we seeing this singing about it? But is this really happening here? And it's inviting people to compare their experience, like I said earlier, or in community and fellowship with others in their church, to compare that with what this mythology is about one of our organizations, and they're going to see a disconnect there. And they might think, well, look, my church is obviously promoting this expectation, fostering, fueling this expectation that experience should look a certain way, but I'm not seeing it happen in my own church. So we're actually advertising somebody else down the road is offering, but we don't really replicate in our own experience. And I would say that what we need to do is be teaching people that this raises false expectations, and that our emotions and our thinking as believers need to be governed by a humble submission to what the scriptures teach, because truth is the tool that God uses to sanctify us. As Jesus said in John 17, verse 17, he spoke to God in prayer saying, your word is truth. Would you sanctify my disciples in truth? It is the tool for sanctification, for becoming more like Jesus Christ himself, and to experience holiness and manifesting the fruit of the Spirit as described in Galatians 5. And that's what we need. We need real authentic teaching about what that looks like, and what we should aspire to. And then our worship should reflect the same truths, and not create this dissonance in the souls of individuals when we hear one thing taught, but something else expressed through the emotion of a worship experience.
Yes. miracles are happening all the time. People are being raised from the dead all the time. And these are incorporated into the lyrics, and so it creates this false expectation of the miraculous, that then when people look at their own churches and lives and say, well, I don't see these miracles happening, they must be happening at Bethel, because they're singing about it. So that's kind of what we're talking about.